South Park is old as fuck. So am I. I've been watching the show since it first aired when I was 7, and I probably shouldn't have been, but in the 90s it was a phenomenon you couldn't avoid. The show was in the news all the time. The only other show that I could think of back then that caused that much controversy was Pokemon. Well, the show just started its 22nd season, which I feel like I've been waiting forever for, so I started making this video. You already know what TF going on.
Alright, so the first one I found is based off of a gag from the Guitar Hero episode of South Park. In the episode, Stan puts down Guitar Hero for a game that's a bit more, shall we say, addicting. A first-person game where you fucking shoot heroin and chase a purple dragon you can never actually catch. Well, they've recreated it here with a Flash version of the joke game referenced in the show. It's kind of a funny novelty, but not much more than that. Unlike other games based on games that don't exist, say something like the Fix-It Felix game based off of the in-universe game from Wreck-It Ralph, they didn't actually try to make a legitimate game out of this. Not that I expected them to. I mean, this is a fucking Newgrounds Flash game, but there really is just nothing here. You click the screen a few times and then it fades back to the beginning. Obviously, I'm not expecting much from something like this, but I mean, they could have made some kind of game out of it if they tried. Add a little score counter, maybe you chase the dragon by clicking, but if you start clicking too quickly in too short a time, you OD and the game's over. I don't know, man, I'm just spitballing ideas here. Now, a lot of these are based off of very old South Park gags from pretty early seasons. This one's called Ike vs. Saddam, and after a short cutscene of a badly animated Kyle launching Ike onto a moving train via foot, Ike then needs to attack Saddam Hussein, who is currently flying with a jetpack while firing rockets at you. It's finicky to control, and it's a high-score game, so as soon as you get hit too many times, it's game over. That's all she wrote. This one's just called South Park Platform Game, and it's very obviously built off of whatever engine that Donald Trump platform game ran on back when I covered that in my Donald Trump games video. It's very similar to that game and is floaty with very, very bad collision detection. Now, I can't actually let you guys listen because YouTube, but for whatever reason, the background music of this game is just a remix of Zombie by the Cranberries, looped endlessly. What? So you gotta make your way through the stage while avoiding spikes, but the hitbox is fucking huge and it's almost impossible to avoid getting hit. Not to mention, there's no indication that you're taking damage besides your health meter actually depleting. There's no knockback, no blinking character, no iframes, no nothing. So it's super easy to just take a shit ton of damage and then die. I never made it to the end of the stage, but I did, however, find this secret area to the left of the start of the level where you can collect a bunch of money, but outside of getting a higher score, I have no idea what it's for, and I couldn't get any further in the level, so really none of that matters. It was still neat to find, though. Other than that, this game, no. So if any of you have watched the show for any amount of time, I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with the class gerbil, Lemmiwinks, so you'll immediately be able to figure out what's going on here. So basically, you have to navigate and weave your way through intestines using WASD or the arrow keys without touching the walls or any other obstacle. This is easier said than done though, as the controls are some of the most touchy I've ever seen. Just one quick tap sends you fucking flying in whatever direction you pressed, and because of this, you need to be very quick with the finger dance you end up doing on your keyboard. There's a lot of that needing to tap the opposite direction to keep yourself balanced and on the correct path. There really isn't much time to rest at all, and you need to constantly be alert because one wrong move and you die in a split second. I don't know what it is with these games and extremely random and nonsensical soundtracks, but this one has you listening to Always by Erasure. Yeah, I don't get it either. There's different power-ups, but to be honest, they do more harm than good and make the game even that much harder. Like this one makes you speed up. Why would anyone want that? I actually made it all the way to the end, but didn't realize I was at the end, so I died and had to redo it, and I was pretty pissed when I realized that I had made it all the way to the end on a prior life. As shitty as it is, no pun intended, it's actually not the worst thing I've ever played, and it was kind of fun for a little bit. Here's a game where Cartman puts logs in front of Kyle for him to chop with an axe, and for whatever reason, every once in a while he places Kenny in your line of fire. You have to chop the wood and get a high score, but if you click too fast without thinking, you'll kill Kenny and get a game over. This is actually a pretty old game concept that I can remember as far back as, like, Hogan's Alley for the NES. Nothing new here. Although you get a game over by killing him, Kenny doesn't really seem all that fazed by getting an axe to the fucking skull. Here's a bad racing game that somehow managed to be even less good than South Park Rally. You control what's supposed to be Cartman in what's supposed to be a car, but it just kind of looks like a cardboard box. Also, they just kind of shoved Kyle's hat on top of the speedometer. This one is really just complete chaos. The track means nothing because the snow doesn't slow you down, so if you're able to cut a corner, you might as well do it because staying on the road doesn't do you any good, except for maybe easier evasion of obstacles. There's little spots on the ground with Kenny's face on them, and they act as speed boosts. I mean, I understand the mechanic, but once again, why Kenny's face? I get that it's a Flash game and they just end up shoehorning in things that are relevant, but like, there's just no rhyme or reason. I made it to the next race, but it was just more of the same with barely any visual changes, so I just got bored and stopped. So this one's an interactive choose-your-own-adventure where you play as a kid named Ray, participating in fun activities such as assaulting a landlord, interrogating people, breaking and entering. Apparently some girl named Michelle was kidnapped and you need to find her and bring her home. It takes some questioning to find out where she's being kept, but once you get the information you need, you make your way to the location she's being held in, and through either sheer force or stealth, you make your way in. So you grab her and escape and make your way back home, but first get attacked by a helicopter. You get home and then the game ends. This is actually part 1 of an episodic series, and in case you were wondering, no, I won't be playing the others. Here we have the inaccurately titled South Park Alien Chase. As the game explains, there's a bunch of aliens dressed as cops chasing the boys in a cop car. So as chef, you have to drive the boys to safety. This makes no sense because in the actual game, you're chasing them. Anyway, the car is bound to the cursor and that's how you steer. You have to evade the other cars on the road while picking up power-ups and speed boosts, but avoiding things like oil slicks. You can shoot down the alien cars to get some extra points, but it always respawns quickly after. The goal, despite what the intro tells you, is to get to the end of each track without depleting your health bar. The furthest I got was level 2, which is pretty much exactly the same as level 1. To be honest, this one isn't too bad. It was fun for the roughly 4 minutes that I played it. I'm sure I could have played it at least a few minutes longer without hating myself, though I'd really like to know how they missed that their explanation of their game doesn't make any fucking sense. Here's a South Park fill-in-the-blanks game. This one thoroughly pissed me off. I've been watching the show since it first aired, and I've seen every episode, most of which I've seen multiple times. So I actually thought I was in for at least a little bit of a fun challenge when I found this game that shows you a short clip from a scene from the show, cuts the dialogue short, and then gives you a list of phrases to finish the line. Well, the fucking video clips don't load. Any of them. And I tried on multiple browsers. I did manage to get a couple right by reading the name of the episode under the video and then clicking a phrase I know that is from that episode, but that only got me so far. Serves me right for deluding myself into thinking I'd get even an ounce of enjoyment out of any of these. Ever played that minigame in BioShock where you have to arrange the pipes properly? Well, that's this. This one isn't totally terrible, but I mean, that's basically just because it's copying other games. You get 3 lives, and your score is calculated by how many pipes you actually used and how many total movements you made. You can also press the spacebar to release the lava early if you've managed to solve it before the time runs out and don't want to wait. It gets pretty overwhelming pretty quickly though, and during later stages, obstacles start getting in the way. Like Butter's just standing here where he very obviously has a clear path to just walk away. So I guess he's just standing by an active volcano for fun. I got up to the 3rd stage, so there you go. Little fun fact about myself, I am way too anxious to play shit like this. And finally, here's one of those dumbass bike games. And another. And another. Why are there so many of these? After all of these I've covered, I'm pretty convinced at this point that there must have been a really easy game builder that lets you just import assets and this stupid bike game's mechanics are already set up, because there's fucking 10 billion of these, and they're all identical except for the themes. This one doesn't even use any established character, it's just some random kid. The other 2 are more fitting because you play as Cartman, so at least that makes sense. This one with the dirt bike isn't even like a racing game. It just gives you a bunch of shit to traverse, and you have to get to the end without flipping over. It's mostly just a bunch of cars in front of each other. The other 2 are more akin to the majority of these games that I've played, and you actually pick up speed. Out of the 3 of these, I got the most entertainment out of the shopping cart one, but even then, to call it entertainment is a very big stretch. The best part is that there's a remix of the South Park theme playing in the background, which, once again, I'm not gonna show you guys because, well, you understand by now. Anyway, I was pretty shocked to find out that there was really a very shallow pool of games based on South Park, hence why I ended up covering 3 fucking bike games. It's very surprising to me, given how big South Park is and was during the time people were really shitting out these Flash games left and right. Somebody go make more. Please don't. Hey, thanks for watching the video. If you want to see more, there's a couple right there you can watch. And you can click the subscribe button if you want to see more whenever I decide to upload. And if you want to help me out by supporting me, there's my Patreon link right there. Please help, I need food.